on the West Coast. Today is December 21st, 2016. Welcome to Sports Fusion News. I am your host, Alex Feuz. I am joined right now by Jayson Stark, ESPN MLB writer. Jayson is always bringing you the most up-to-date updates on the trade deals, injury statuses, and updates on every MLB thing related. So, Jayson, I want to welcome you on my show today.
Alex, great to be back. How's everything with you?
Good, good. So I know you're a big fan of the Phillies, right?
Well, I live in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe myself as a fan of any team, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. I'm surrounded by a lot of fans of the Phillies.
Yeah. So
But I
what?
cover everybody. So I've long since gotten over being a fan of any team.
Okay. So you're down there in Philadelphia. So what's the feel? The Phillies not that great last season. So what's the fan base feel from everyone right there?
Well, this is about as patient as I can ever remember Phillies fans being.
Mhm.
I think, as long as you show them that there's a method to the madness and that what they're watching is leading somewhere, they're willing to take a deep breath and let it unfold, because I think they feel like this is the way it had to be done. They had 5 great years, right, from 2007 to 2011, and finished first all 5. And now they've had 5 really disappointing years. And, at some point here in the last couple of years, it just kind of got to rock bottom. And they've got a new front office, and they're very slowly and methodically building back in a bunch of different ways toward what they think is contention. And so as long as people like the view and can see sort of an end game, it's incredible how little Philadelphia-like behavior we've seen from these fans. I went through it with the basketball team, and I think they're willing to go through it now as long as it leads them back to being good again.
Okay. And one team that's really been trying to work on getting better again is the New York Yankees, of course, here in upstate New York. Now, with the Yankees, they've kind of dealt with, they made the wild card back in 2015. But ever since then, it's just been trying to get younger and younger. So with this Yankees team, they got Chapman back, and they got a few trades going with Brian McCann going to the Astros. So now with this Yankee team, how do you see them developing over the next few years?
Well, I really like what Brian Cashman's done, and this is going to be a quick rebuild for a team like this that never ever wants to hit the reset button. They've been able to hang in there and at least be competitive while turning over a bunch of contracts. Getting Alex Rodriguez out the door, waving so long to Mark Dozier, trading Brian McCann, and they've gotten out of most of these just suffocating contracts with about 1 year to go. And you've got to like the depth of young talent, the upside of guys like Gary Sanchez and some of these players that they have traded for. Made great deals last year for involving Andrew Miller and Aroldis Chapman, and then bring Chapman back. Definitely heading in the direction where they're going to be an incredibly formidable team. And what really makes them dangerous is not just all the young talent they've assembled, but the fact that in 2 years, when this mega free agent class hits the market, they'll be totally positioned to make a run at a Bryce Harper or a Manny Machado or one of these big-time star players who's going to be unaffordable by most of the sport. So I don't know that this is the year, but if you wait a couple of years, the Yankees are going to be back to being the Yankees again.
Now, you just mentioned some big names that they could possibly get in the next few years, and there's one younger name that possibly has the potential to be that big star quality is Jose Quintana, and a lot of teams are trying to get him this offseason. So where do you think he's going to land this or get traded to?
Well, I think it's too soon to say. They've got a lot of interest on a lot of different fronts, and they're looking for a similar type return to what they got for Chris Sale. And that, this is a guy who was very close to Chris Sale in performance this year, and is actually under control for 4 years, whereas Sale was under control for 3 at even less money. So they're going to get a big haul. They're not going to do it yet. There's no hurry. They've made 2 great deals already, and I think they're not going to rush into this one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And one guy that is a big name as well in the past few days is Dozier. What do you think about him?
Well, there's been a lot of rumors connecting him to the Dodgers, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, especially if the Dodgers are really willing to include Jose De Leon in this trade, and indications are that they're willing to do that. I think when you look at where the Twins are and where they're going, it makes total sense to deal Brian Dozier now. Is his value ever going to be higher? Coming up with 40-homer season at second base, hit more home runs after the All-Star break than Bryce Harper hit all year, Alex. So I expect him to get traded, and there's an obvious fit with the Dodgers.
Now, Jayson, I have to ask you about the CBA deal. A lot of fans aren't exactly sure about what this new deal is. They signed it back in early December, about before the winter meetings. So I wanted to ask you, what big new deal or deals that were in this new deal that fans should be aware of for the next few years?
Well, I mean, first off, there's a lot of attention being paid to the way the luxury tax has changed. And, Alex, I think in general, it's not going to make a huge difference for most teams. But what makes it interesting is there's now a second tier above the tax threshold, $40 million above that threshold, where the tax rate goes to 90 or 95% on every dollar spent. Past that second threshold, if you're a multi-time offender, as say the Dodgers are going to be. And so, I mean, talking to teams about this, I think it's pretty clear that that second threshold is the one that teams are going to worry about. And that's not going to affect many, but it certainly is going to affect the way the Dodgers do business here over the next couple of years. Another fascinating change to me, too, is that there is a big push on the part of the owners for an international draft. And, this is something that's been studied for years. And it never seems to happen because it's so unwieldy around all kinds of different political issues and different conditions in every single country that would be subject to the draft. And it's just not workable. So at the last minute, they pivoted into a whole different system than anything we've seen before. And I mean, it's basically a hard cap on international signings. Every team has about the same signing pool of about $5 million. Now, there are a few subtle differences. Teams can actually trade for slots to get a little bit more, but nobody is allowed to go one penny above that limit. And that's a huge change from what we've seen, where we've had some teams just blow past their signing pool and be willing to take the penalties because it was worth it. And so it's going to have a huge impact on the earning power of players from the Dominican and Venezuela, for example. It's going to impact the young Cuban players. I looked, for example, at some of the recent bonuses. I mean, guys were getting more by themselves than entire divisions are going to be allowed to spend now on everybody. So that's going to be a major difference in how teams do business. And then the final issue that I think really got a lot of attention is what we thought was going to be the end to the system of compensation for free agents who sign on other teams. And the one thing that's going to change is no more first-round picks to the teams that lose these free agents. The best they can do under very special circumstances is to get a sandwich pick after the first round. But for the most part, those picks are going to come later than that. I think we're going to see a lot fewer qualifying offers. We're going to see a lot fewer players get any sort of compensation for their old teams. And it's really going to be a big change in free agency. The other impact is if teams aren't going to get compensation on the other end, the trade deadline is going to be crazy because every team that's out of contention is going to be trying to unload all their free agents.
Well, it should be interesting to see how that works out in the next coming years. And Jayson, I want to say thank you for joining on me on my show today. And before we end the show, I just want to say thank you for you because my local newspaper here in upstate New York a few months ago, I was featured in an article, and you said some incredibly nice things about me, my show, and my future. And I greatly appreciate you saying those things, and it's something I will never forget.
Well, Alex, it's really my pleasure, and it's like when I was your age, I was trying to do the same stuff, and I think it's when you understand how much it means to a guy like you to have somebody who's actually working in the media take them seriously and pay attention and provide some guidance and appear as a guest. I understand that, and so I'm always looking to give back to anybody who wants to do what I've done and been so lucky to do for a living. So glad to help, and all the best in the future, man. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stark, for joining me on my show today.
Alex, my pleasure, buddy.
Okay, Fuse Nation, I'll be back here at 5 o'clock with Jack Curry, Yes Network, in studio Yankee reporter. What does he have to say about the Yankees? Well, you heard what Mr. Stark had to say about the Yankees. Well, what does he have to say? And also at 6:45 tonight, Lydia Kobita, News Channel 10 anchor here in upstate New York. She'll be on tonight as well. Thank you, Fuse Nation. I will see you at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great rest of your day.